The Roman Empire was once everything. It spans the whole known world, from the Caucasian mountains to Iberia, from the Nile River to the British Isles. The Roman Empire was food and shelter, love and hate, it was peace and war. It was home, it was everything. To be a citizen of the empire was something of immense pride above any other citizens of any other state. All roads lead to Rome, but where is Rome nowadays? The empire that ruled the known world is no more. Obviously, who is responsible? What or who could have made the fall possible? Many would say it was the fault of time, saying any empire has its beginning and its end. It was bound to happen given it enough time. But to slowly throw the responsibility of the fall on Father Time would be missing the point of history. History is recorded to know what happened, to know the stories of heroes and the tyranny of evil. History is the greatest teacher of nation, and to not listen now would mean failure in the future. We need to learn the lessons of the past so that we can avoid repeating the same mistakes in the future. More specifically, today we will put the two most relevant lessons from the fall of the Western Empire and we will compare them with the present. Two lessons that go hand in hand with what our problems are today. Let's begin. For centuries, the boundaries of Rome were strong. They kept the Roman people in and the barbarians out. Any barbarian Roman war would happen at the border or beyond the border. Such was not the situation in the late period of the Western Roman Empire. The army of the West started relying more and more on Germanic mercenaries. One reason for this was the price. It was cheaper than a disciplined Roman soldier. It could also be that the army had too much influence on who would overthrow the emperor when the emperor was weak. Coups in that period were very common, so the rulers would keep the professional army weak on purpose to not pose a threat to the monarch. You can imagine that having foreigners of different cultures, ideas, and loyalty in position of high military power would be a bad idea. And indeed, that became apparent in 410 when the Visigothic king Alaric successfully sacked the city of Rome. The empire spent the next several decades under constant threat before the Eternal City was raided again in 455, this time by the Vandals. Finally, in 476, the Germanic leader Odoacer staged a revolt and deposed Emperor Romulus Augustulus. From then on, no Western Roman emperor would ever again rule from a post in Italy, leading many to cite 476 as the year the Western Empire suffered its death blow. If we start comparing this situation with the present, we will find many similarities. The boundaries of the Western free-loving world have become more and more loose over time. At the time of making this video, the southern US border is being overflowed with illegal immigrants and the United States has about 12 million illegal immigrants inside its border. We also have the boundaries of Europe being under siege. Since the 2016 migrant crisis, European countries like Germany have a foreign population which is constantly refusing to integrate and has totally different goals about the future of the country. This lack of integration is the most obvious in crime statistics, where immigrants of primarily Muslim background dominate violent and sexual crimes. The early Christians were the most suppressed and discriminated group in the Roman Empire. Just look at what happened to the apostles of Jesus as an example. Paul was beheaded, Peter was crucified upside down at his request since he did not feel worthy to die in the same manner as his Lord. Andrew was crucified in Greece, Philip died again by crucifixion, James was stoned to death, Matthias, the one who replaced Judas, was burned to death, and only John was thought to have died in old age. So it's fair to say that early Christians did not enjoy their status in the empire. However, later on in 313, things changed. With Emperor Constantine signing the Edict of Milan, Christianity would finally be legal and the bloody persecution would be put to an end. Only 67 years later, in 380, Christianity would become the state religion of the Roman Empire. It is said that at this time, most of the population was following the old pagan gods, and only a third of the empire was Christian, most of which were moderate and loyal subjects of the empire. If I was living at that time, I would probably be a part of this community. But unfortunately, not all Christians were this way. A few fanatics existed. Fanatics which found their way in the government and took sharp turns against the Roman culture. They promoted the burning and looting of temples. They have also eroded the traditional Roman values system. The previous divine status of the emperor was destroyed, alongside with the trust in the state. The history of the great empire was suddenly not important. It was put aside just because they followed pagan gods. Many of these fanatics believe that people who still admire the past of the great empire were secret pagans. They attacked the culture that built the state in such a way that Christian values could not replace the old ones quickly enough. Shortly after the barbarians burned Rome. It's also important to recognize that Christianity in itself is not the cause of the issue. Let's not forget that the Eastern Roman Empire adopted Christianity the right way and lived for 1000 more years, carrying the Roman legacy for 10 more centuries. So the issue here is about fanatics which create a bloody practice of their ideology. Comparing this to the present, we will find many similarities. The fanatics that you will find here in the West want to drive the values and the culture that made us great to the ground. They want to demolish statues of great leaders like Winston Churchill and other historical figures, all in order to be replaced by their utopian socialist dream, a dream which was brought to other parts of the world and failed every single time. We need to be careful. When men forget the past, they are bound to repeat it. So it's important not to do so, because today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Thank you very much. Please subscribe to the channel if you like it.